Sweeping cuts to the public service are about to take place, according to Finance Minister Matthias Cormann. How much of an impact will that have? Well, to work out, I'm joined by Alex Philippatos, a research fellow at the Centre for Independent Studies. Alex, you've been looking at the growth of the public sector. What have you found?
I've found over the past sort of 20 years, there have been some significant changes in the Commonwealth Public Service that have made it more expensive. On the one hand, some of the lower level public servants, we used to have something like 32,000 entry-level public servants at the Commonwealth level, and we now have about 1,000 of those. So there's been a sort of a hollowing out of lower level public servants, whilst at the same time there's been a fairly large increase in middle level management and senior level management. So for example, middle level management, executive level, have increased since 1991 about 156%, between 80 and 156%. And that's quite large. And then when you go further to the senior executive service, the high level management, the number of employees there has increased about 50% in the last 20 years.
And what are you seeing in terms of their wages increase as well?
Well, in terms of wages, have been relatively moderate at the lower levels, but in terms of the SES, the managers at the top have seen roughly 25 to 35% increase in wages since 2004. Now that's adjusted for inflation. So not only are we getting a lot more high-level public servants, we're also paying them a lot more, and that's going to have significant budget implications.
So you would suggest then that cutting back on the public service would be a very good thing for the budget?
I think where the government can find savings, it should, and the public service should be constantly looking. The government should be constantly looking to make the public service more efficient. What it needs to do is to cut what it does. I think over time, governments add new programs, add new agencies, add new spending initiatives. What you need to do to decrease the cost of the public service is to reduce what government does. If there are spending programs that aren't effective, get rid of them. If you can make savings in existing agencies, you should do that.
So are you finding that in terms of the public service, it's more of a case of empire building rather than the most efficient way to achieve results?
I think the government departments are responsible for providing new ideas for new policies. But what I think the government needs to do a little bit more stringently is to have a look to see if those new programs actually do anything. Do they meet their objectives? Can they be made more efficient? This is where I think government gets lazy. They kind of invent a new program, resource the new program, and then don't really do the follow-up to see whether that money has been spent efficiently or even effectively. I think a lot of savings could be made simply in getting rid of programs and small agencies and committees that don't have much of an effect.
Now, one of the plans for the budget is to reduce those amount of agencies. There's something like 1,000, according to the Finance Minister Matthias Cormann, 1,000 sort of government bodies or agencies that now exist. In fact, Treasury doesn't even know, Finance doesn't even know, kind of what they do.
Sure, it's difficult even sometimes for me to find out exactly what they do. Something like 937 bodies. These can include committees as well. Some of them are really small agencies that only employ relatively few staff. But when you add the effect of the overheads, the salaries, you need management at each of these smaller agencies. The costs build up quite quickly. And if some of them are providing services that the private sector can provide, then there should be no need for it in the first place.
Do you think it makes sense for institutions like the National Gallery and the National Library to share their back office functions?
Yeah, if savings can be made wherever and however savings can be made, they should. If it means that the department becomes less effective, that's obviously not a good thing. But if you can combine the back end of a few agencies where it's appropriate to do so, if savings can be made, they should be.
Now, one of the big concerns people talk about is that by cutting back on public servants, you reduce services. Do you agree with that argument?
Well, it really depends on how you cut. If you're just going to indiscriminately reduce the number of public servants without having a really sort of targeted approach at where the savings are made, yeah, you're going to do damage, definitely. If you just decide, we need 12,000 public service jobs cut, and you have a look at the largest agencies such as health and welfare, and you just cut indiscriminately, of course you're going to create damage. But as long as the government is having a look at the functions it does and targeting the cuts at areas of government that are wasteful or that can be provided by the public sector, I think those problems won't really be encountered as much.
Alex Philippatis, thank you very much.
No problems. Cheers.